It is the Sports Lounge. Look at that. We're streaming, Marcus. We're streaming.
I can't believe it.
Great. Lounge 235. Travis Krins here. Marcus Traxler there. You've got, what, taco stuff?
Yep. I was just at work for a little bit. I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to cook. So I stopped at Taco John's.
I've got pineapple stuff. So there we go.
Eat the pineapple. Eat it. Eat the chunks. That's what you got to do.
Eat the chunks. College football season. Regular season all wrapped up, and we know the playoff, and there's, I don't believe much of a discussion to be had, is there, about the four teams? Is pretty cut and dry, and I think everybody's pretty happy.
I think unless you're
a dumb bastard,
unless you're a delusional University of Southern California fan or an Ohio State fan of any stripe. And I would say I saw on Facebook, I'm friends with an Ohio State fan, and he was taking it all pretty well. So he seemed to understand. And unless you're ESPN and you got hours of content you got to fill by manufacturing some talking points and Kirk Herbstreit fucking getting up at the desk for no reason, then yeah, I think anybody else just pretty much understands where they're coming from. I watched too much of the show that they had today, even after they had the picks out. And at one point, Jesse Palmer's like, "Look, the reason Ohio State's not in is because they lost by 31 at Iowa, and it's that simple." Yeah. So I like that he just, at some point he had enough. And he's just like, you don't have to analyze it any more than that.
Nathan Stacken joins us. The kid countdown begins.
Yes, we'll have names here soon.
Very good. What's the property of who? Property of what? Vikings? What do we got?
Yep,
property of Vikings. Portland State.
Disappointed with this loss, or with this win today, but I'll explain why momentarily.
You should be. You should be disappointed anytime they win the game. We know the college football playoff. Not really much controversy here, is there? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
So. No, I was very disappointed. That Wisconsin didn't win because I wanted to see Clemson against Wisconsin so I could have all of the confidence points on Clemson taking down Wisconsin. But no, I mean, I would have been okay with Ohio State jumping in ahead of Alabama, but I mean, it wasn't a convincing win against Wisconsin, and I don't know. I guess I'm okay with it.
Marcus, anything Ohio State could have done if they would have pantsed Wisconsin, would that have been enough?
I think that would have helped. I think somebody said, they won by, 5 points or 4 points?
Yeah. And, I mean, it came down to the last minute. So.
Right. And they said, well, obviously the committee doesn't, have any respect for Wisconsin. It's like, have you been watching the last 6 weeks? Yeah.
That's why they're fourth. That's why they're fourth and undefeated.
Right. That's a good back.
We got a hell of a. Can I recommend the earbuds for Mr. Traxler?
You need earbuds from me?
It's hellacious.
For God's sakes. See if I can get this to work here.
Mr. Stacken, anything else? You had Auburn disappoint me. They lost to Georgia. That was not great. You had Georgia winning that one. Nothing else. Kind of a bad. Another Central Florida classic right there.
Yes, it was.
You have, we'll start with Clemson and Alabama. Third year in a row. 2 years ago, Clemson lost. They put up 40. Last year, they won, as you can see right here. And they put up 35. Do you expect another high-scoring game this time around? It doesn't appear Alabama's defense is as good. We'll see what injuries, with a month off. We'll see if they can get anybody back. Quarterback is different. Quarterback has been fine. Basically a pick'em game. Clemson, Alabama going to be played in New Orleans.
I think Clemson, the drop in talent, in terms of the team overall, Alabama is worse than they were last year. Clemson might be a little worse than last year, but overall, I think they are a much better team than Alabama this year. So I will take Clemson to beat Alabama in that game.
By a score 2, 7, 10, 3?
Yeah, I'll say 10 points.
10 points?
I think they're 10 points better.
You concur, Marcus. Clemson.
I hate picking it. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine. Yep.
All right. I'm actually okay. That's a little easier. I think Clemson. I would agree with Stack, and they're better than Alabama. I get the sense though that Alabama hasn't played the best game pretty much all year. This is probably one of the most talented team of the four as far as when they put it all together. I think they will against Clemson. I think Alabama will win the game. I think it's probably, anywhere between 3 and 7 point victory. And I think Clemson has the blueprint on how to beat Alabama because they came very close 2 years ago and they did a year ago. As the hat would attest, it's got a gold brim. That's how you know Clemson won.
They won the national title. What side is the goddamn thing on? Right there. They won. And if they do it again, we're going to get another one, goddammit.
So, I think...
Or we'll just put this one on.
Clemson kind of boring me to death, to be honest.
Go to hell. Go to hell, Traxler. Go to hell.
They got a good defense. I don't like the fact that they pantsed Miami. That's good for them, but they did pants Miami. So just because it was a boring game, it wasn't worth watching in any regard. So put the U up, turn the ball over 4 times. So I think Alabama will play its best game. I think they'll beat Clemson. It'll be close.
Charlie, there's not much of a debate. Alabama in over Ohio State. What do you make then of those people saying, come on now, we need 8 teams in, or what are we doing here? What do you make of those teams, those hot take guys today?
I would say there have been years of the playoff where you could make a valid argument for 8 teams, and I'm going to preface this with this is coming from a guy who wants to stay at 4. But I think this is not the year to argue for 8 because I think this is the year where really only 3 teams deserve to be in. And then we're essentially, not to make it too real, but picking between 2 bad candidates in a presidential election.
Ooh,
it's
it hurts.
oh my gosh, who are we going to take now? I don't want either of those 2. And I feel that's kind of like what Alabama, Ohio State was, where, I don't know. And it was just, it appeared to me that Clemson and Georgia and Oklahoma were clearly in, and then it was just like, I don't know if anyone else really has the resume to definitively say they should be in. Obviously someone has to get in, I get that, but, I don't know. Ohio State fans and Alabama fans would cry either way, so, I guess at least one of them was disappointed, so that's good.
Clemson has done very well against Alabama offensively. Alabama's done well also, scoring lots of points last 2 years. Do you expect another high-scoring game this time around?
That's a good question. I think it will not be. I think the first game 2 years ago in the title game was the highest-scoring one.
Like 45-40.
I don't think it'll be as high-scoring as either of the first 2. I think it'll be mid-20s or so for both teams. I think while they're both talented and good on offense, I don't think they necessarily have the same difference makers across the board as the past couple of years. More so with Clemson with the skill guys, and while Kelly Bryant's good, they don't have Watson. And while Alabama probably has one of the 10 best offensive lines in the country, they don't appear to be they're just better than everyone else in the front 5 like they have at times in the last few years.
I would agree with Charlie on that point. I think the 2 defenses in this game are really good, and I think we'll see, sort of a first team to 24 or 27, somewhere in the 20s probably winning this game. So,
who does Charlie think going to win this one?
That's a good question. This seems like the most wide open field we've had of the 4.
Is this the best of the 4?
I don't know if it's the best because I don't think the teams as a whole are as good as other years.
They're the most balanced.
Oklahoma, I think deserves to be in. I don't think Oklahoma is as good as the top 3 teams of any of the previous 3 years. Although I still think they're good and clearly deserve to be there. But I think that could make just for the most entertaining games. I feel, I don't know, Alabama playing in the Sugar Bowl, I think whoever wins between Clemson and Alabama is going to win the whole thing. That's what I should say. I guess I'm leaning towards Alabama right now.
The other semifinal, Rose Bowl, has Georgia versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense is very good. Their defense, not quite. Georgia, their defense is very good, and their offense pretty good. They put up some points. Their running game, very good. Their quarterback, he's been good enough. Mr. Stack, and how do you see Mr. Crotch Grabber versus Kirby Smart? Oh.
You know, I think that Oklahoma's going to be able to score some points on Georgia, but it's not going to be the 30 or 40 that we're accustomed to seeing from them. So I think he's going to have flashes of brilliance in there. But one thing, you shouldn't need motivation, but Georgia had big motivation in the SEC championship game to, revenge, or get some revenge, redeem themselves from that embarrassing loss against Auburn. They said, okay, we want this game against Auburn, and they played like it. I don't know if they can play with that same intensity against Oklahoma, but I do like the running back combination of Michelle and Chubb. And their defense plays really good. The key is going to be the quarterback, of course. Freshman can he avoid mistakes. So I think Georgia's defense is going to be able to contain Baker Mayfield. So I think I would give Georgia the slight edge, but this is much more of a toss-up game to me than Alabama-Clemson.
Marcus, can we somehow reach the levels of Penn State USC last year's Rose Bowl here with Georgia, Oklahoma?
I think we can as far as quality of the game. I don't think we can as far as flat out scoring points necessarily. I sort of look at this game as I think Georgia kind of proved Saturday that they are capable of really so much more defensively. They didn't play their best the first time around against Auburn. And so I was really pleased to see them, sort of put some stuff together and make some plays. I didn't get a chance to see a ton of that game, but from what I gathered, they got some big plays offensively, and that will certainly be
turnovers
and turnovers. So that will be very important in the Rose Bowl. I think if you were to sort of pick the 8 units in this playoff, I think Oklahoma's offense is the most important unit to their team. Obviously, they need Baker Mayfield to have a huge game. I'm of the opinion that I think he will. I like Oklahoma in this game. I think, when this is a point I'm sort of copying it because I heard from ESPN earlier today. I don't remember who said it, but it was a good point. You're probably going to get 30 points. Their offense is usually good. You're not really asking for too much out of their defense. It's a Big 12 defense. It's not capable of a ton, but I think Oklahoma can get enough stops, keep them in the game. So I'm eager to see Oklahoma. I like them a little bit more than Georgia in this game because I think their offense is that good.
Charlie, under the old system, we'd have Clemson at 1, Oklahoma at 2. Are you okay? It doesn't matter in this instance, but under the old system, compare Georgia to Oklahoma. Is the tiebreaker Oklahoma beat Ohio State?
I think that's fair, that's probably what it is. I know that Georgia beat Notre Dame, and for a long time it was
very good,
the best win in the country maybe that any team had. And while I still think it's a pretty good win, obviously Notre Dame kind of faltered down the stretch, and instead of having a great year, it was just a pretty good year. So I think I would agree that I think the Oklahoma's win over Ohio State's the difference.
Is this the irresistible force versus the immovable object?
I think that between the two semifinal games, I would agree with that because I think Oklahoma's much better than Georgia offensively, and Georgia's much better defensively. In terms of the game, I think just in terms of the whole playoffs, I think if Baker Mayfield plays like he did against Ohio State, both games, I think Oklahoma will win the whole thing. But it's difficult to play at that high of a level all the time without making mistakes. I think Oklahoma's got a good chance to beat Georgia. But to play Georgia and then either Alabama or Clemson right after that's really tough. And I don't know if you could do that like 2 times in a row, bring your A-plus game.
Todd. What if Baker Mayfield plays very well, wins the national title? He's going to win the Heisman next week. What does that do for his draft stock? Todd.
Well, I think really he's going to be a first-round pick projected in that way. You look at Josh Allen at Wyoming, had a disappointing year. And Sam Darnold, we don't know for sure if he's going to come back. Certainly Baker Mayfield not going to be a top 10 overall pick. I think this is a very strong class. You have some elite defensive linemen, linebackers, maybe some running back stuff there. But I really think, Baker Mayfield looking to move down the air. The crotch grabbing is a little bit of a concern to me. I mean, I kind of, grab Todd's crotch every once in a while and his chain that way. But really, overall, what I see from Baker Mayfield is a very good quarterback. Johnny Manziel 2.0 without all of the antics, but that character is a bit of a concern. It's going to lower him down some draft boards, and he is no Carson Wentz.
May I suggest, whenever you have your child, however long...
Todd.
Sure, yes, that'd be great.
With three Todds on the first
Todd. Talk like that for as long as you can. So this kid's 4, 5, 6 years old. That's how he thinks his dad talks. And all of a sudden, when he's 5 or 6, talk normal and see what happens.
Could confuse the hell out of him.
You've really got a great chance here to ruin or mold a mind, another human's mind, which is a great opportunity.
Why can't I influence someone else other than my kid in that regard?
Well, you could.
I want my kid.
If the Vikings win the whole thing, is this kid going to be like the reason why?
Well, I have thought of it a little bit here.
You've been agonizing for 30 years over this team. Your kid's here not even a month. Bam, Super Bowl.
Okay.
What a deal! What a deal!
To be fair, I'm not a Vikings fan.
That'd be
you
fun.
guys, at least a little bit, since all 3 of you are Vikings fans, being like, come on, kid. You don't know how damn lucky you are that they win literally right when you're born.
That's right.
Do you remember the date? No, Dad, I was 1 fucking month old or 2 months old, damn it. When I was born, the Twins had just won the World Series.
Well, goddamn, here we go, folks. Here we go.
So,
there it is.
I have thought of it.
Yes.
I have thought of it. And now that SDSU is playing New Hampshire, we have a pretty decent chance to get to the semi. No, stop it, Stackett. Just stop it. We're not even going there. Not even going there. Going to lose before then. Get out of here.
There he says.
Real fun. One last quick note on Baker Mayfield that I saw on Twitter, and it's fun to remember this. He was a walk-on at Texas Tech that only left to walk on at Oklahoma because Cliff Kingsbury would not offer him a scholarship. And I would imagine there's times that Cliff thinks, you know what? Probably would have been nice to have that guy.
He's too short, Charlie. He'll never be good. He's too short.
That's what they say about Jerick McKinnon.
Too short. Marcus.
This is the sports lounge. We would be remiss if we didn't mention the betting lines, correct?
Yeah, we got some shifting in the betting lines there for the next month. What do we have?
Well, I sort of looked on the consensus of maybe some of these websites. Alabama, a 2-point favorite over Clemson, and you've got Oklahoma, a 1.5-point favorite over Georgia. I do believe that Clemson is the number 1 favorite, out of the 4 teams to win the title.
Are you sure?
Really?
Bama. Is that right?
I think only by just a little margin. I'm not. I thought that's what I saw earlier today, and then Alabama was 2. But maybe I have that wrong as well. So.
Real quick, if you've got betting lines, how do the Nebraska, Minnesota, Florida, and Tennessee lines for their bowl games look?
Not good. All of them huge underdogs, as they probably won't even send a team to these bowl games, to be honest.
That's how big of an underdog they are. You have the list there. What are our other New Year's 6 played in New York City? Let's see them.
We got the first game. Probably the
these are really early this year because New Year's is on a Sunday, so we're all screwed up.
New Year's is on a Monday.
Yeah.
And we've got the games on that day, but Sunday is the 31st, so your games that would typically be on the 31st are on the 30th, and they've kind of been trying to parcel a few of these games out. So you've got USC and Ohio State. They're in the Cotton Bowl on the 29th. That's a Friday night. I was going to get the ranking and put that in here as well. And the line on that game at this point is Ohio State favored by 7. So that should be an appetizing game. That was supposed to be the Fiesta Bowl, but Ohio State would have been there 3 years in a row. So they wisely moved them off that. Good call there on their part. Do you want me to keep going?
Charlie, this Cotton Bowl seems to be the best of the bunch here.
I would agree with that. I'm slightly biased. I'm intrigued in Central Florida, Auburn. Depending on how things shake out, we don't know if Central Florida's going to have their coach for the bowl game.
I think
clearly, if Auburn plays like they did against Georgia the first time, or Alabama, it won't be close. But I don't know. But anyways, I'm intrigued for that one. But I agree that Ohio State and USC, which normally would be like, I think has been the Rose Bowl the most of any matchup ever, is probably the most interesting.
Because you stole their coach, you jackass.
Me personally, I was the feeler in that situation, which is why I have not been on the most recent.
You're the feeler. Very good. More on that in a bit. What are the other? Yeah, you got the Central Florida, Auburn. Where are they at?
Chronologically, when we go to the Fiesta Bowl, that's on Saturday, 3 o'clock. December 30th, that's Penn State and Washington. And then later that day, we've got Miami, Wisconsin at the Orange Bowl, 7 o'clock, Saturday the 30th.
I'm kind of intrigued in the Fiesta Bowl, but I agree with Krins on the Orange Bowl. I don't think Miami and Wisconsin, that doesn't do a great deal for me.
We got Penn State favored by 3, and we've got Wisconsin favored by 6.5.
I'll take Penn State by 3. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there.
This isn't very intriguing how many teams are playing games in their home stadium, in their home city.
There's only 4 of them this year.
Yeah, so, you have Miami in the Orange Bowl. Memphis is playing against Iowa State.
That's a lot, right? It's a lot. 4 is a lot.
Then you have Florida Atlantic playing in the Boca Raton Bowl, so that's a slap in the face to Lane Kiffin there. And I guess I'll even
throw. To be fair, they're both owls against each other, so it's like that.
Superb owl.
John Chaney, the John Chaney Bowl.
Things are going to get owly, that's for sure. And then, Wake Forest is playing in Charlotte. Who the hell did I see them playing?
Belk Bowl.
Texas A&M. So the famous Belk Bowl. We have Wake Forest driving a mere 15, 20 miles to Charlotte to play that. So.
Pack them in.
It's interesting.
It's about the student athlete experience.
Okay.
They must really want fannies in the seats because this doesn't look good. It's like Texas is back.
Terrific.
Maybe. What the fuck?
All right. Any other bowl games of note here, Marcus? What else have we got? Michigan, South Carolina.
Well, let's close out the New Year's Six. I think he mentioned, or Charlie mentioned it. You got Auburn and UCF, 11:30 a.m. Central Time in the Peach Bowl. Auburn. Let's see.
Auburn's a 9.5 point favorite. 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5. Okay. And then you've got
that's plenty.
You got the 2 playoff games later that day. You've also got the Citrus
Bowl.
That's LSU, Notre Dame. The Tigers. I like that you've got. Those 2 teams have played a few times now in recent years.
LSU and Notre Dame.
Yeah,
that's what we got. Yeah,
that's in the Citrus Bowl. I am intrigued by the Liberty Bowl, Iowa State, Memphis.
Good.
On the 30th, should be kind of fun. Michigan
probably
State
will be a very high-scoring game, I would imagine, between Memphis and Iowa State. So that should be fun.
Play that freshman quarterback I like.
South Carolina is a 9.5-point favorite over Michigan in the Outback Bowl.
Seems a bit much.
And I'm a little uncomfortable about that. That should be a rock fight.
Well, either team scored 9.5 in that game.
That's right. You got Michigan State playing Washington State in the Holiday Bowl, so I think Washington State is going to lose the Holiday Bowl for a second straight year after my Gophers did it to them last year. I think Boise State, Oregon is interesting. Mainly will Oregon still have their coach on December 16th? Will he be bound for Florida State at that point? You've also got Florida State got to play in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
against Southern Miss. And what was the other one?
Fuck you, Florida State.
West Virginia and Utah playing the day after Christmas at 12:30 on a Tuesday at the Heart of Dallas Bowl. West Virginia. That might be the premier who's more motivated game. Who wants to be playing the day after Christmas in a
Hawaii Bowl? I think is pretty good this year.
It is. Houston and Fresno State. Here's my big critique on that. So Boise beats Fresno for the Mountain West title. The champion goes to Las Vegas. There's nothing wrong with that. But wouldn't you want to send your champ to Hawaii? I think Fresno State does pretty good there, getting the trip to Hawaii. And Houston, I mean, they can score, so that should be a fun game.
What is there? Northwestern and Mississippi State? Is that a game?
Yeah, maybe puke. That's Northwestern Kentucky, Music City Bowl.
Northwestern Kentucky.
Wildcats on Wildcats.
That's right. Cat on cat crime.
Who's
also got,
hey, it's about time we got those two basketball powerhouses to play each other.
Hey, wait a second. Arizona, Purdue, and the Foster Farms Bowl. Oh man,
not bad. Not bad.
For that.
So I like that Fox and FS1 only get to broadcast 2 bowl games all year, and the 2 games they get are Michigan State, Washington State, and Arizona, Purdue. It just makes you kind of want to throw up, I think. And I should also point out that New Mexico State going to a bowl game for the first time in 56 years. The last bowl game they played Utah State, and they also get to play Utah State this time around.
My God.
In the Arizona Bowl. That should be just wonderful.
Bowl Pick'em. I don't know if the Bowl Pick'em is up yet, but we'll get that going
better
here.
Start that. I got to get my picks in here.
I got to get my name in there, so it's going to be another great year. Going to be a fantastic Bowl Pick'em year. Are Stacken, are you going to pick Southern Miss over Florida State out of protest?
I'd like to, but I don't think I can. But fuck you, Florida State. Fuck you.
Fuck them, he
Okay,
says.
why are we so mad at Florida State this year?
Okay, because when Hurricane Irma ran up the Florida coast, Florida State had to cancel the game with ULM.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're like, okay, we couldn't find a date to play it, so
Funny how they found a date.
After they fell to 3-6, it was right before they played Clemson, and they're like, oh, this game against Louisiana Monroe has been rescheduled to December 2nd. And it was only because that loss to Clemson would drop them to 3-6, so they'd have to win out to make it to a bowl game, just so they could make it to their 35th consecutive bowl game. So you know what, Florida State, you're in my bad graces here, so fuck you.
Wow. Stacking. I would like to point out though that it was hilarious the fact that they had to play this week. And also the fact that their coach leaves the day before the game, and it's on at 11 o'clock. Nobody cares. Nobody's there. Like if you really need to back your way into a bowl, make sure you're going at 6-6, so you can go play in goddamn Shreveport, knock yourself out. So
that is.
I'm not as offended by it as Stacken is. I think Florida State should be embarrassed, but I don't know if I'm angry about it or angry at Florida State. But to try to find some middle ground. Florida State has not announced a new head coach yet, as far as I know, unless it's happened in the last hour. So, I think Florida State's permanent head coach for at least the next 5 years, signed into a 5-year deal, should be Jimbo Fisher's Christmas tree that he tried to throw away, and that's how everyone realized that he was for sure leaving to go to A&M.
He goes to A&M, 10 years, $75 million, apparently all of it guaranteed. Charlie, this is the sole reason I could come up with why he would do this? That and they're just, I don't know, facilities or whatever the hell?
I would think that's the only thing, because Florida State, like I think I mentioned this somewhere on the chat, but like it's always fluid when you're ranking coaching jobs, but some coaching jobs are just almost always good. I don't know if Florida State wasn't a great job 60 years ago, but for the last 30 years, Florida State's probably been a top 5 job. And Texas A&M is clearly not. It's not a top 10 job. It's not even the best job in its own state, although there's enough recruiting in Texas that you can still do pretty well there. I think money's got to be the two reasons I think are like money, so we can just do whatever he wants, get anything paid for. I guess Florida State doesn't have facilities. And then sometimes I wonder if guys just after like 8 or 10 years, because I think Jimbo was at Florida State for 9 years, I think, are just like, you know what, I just want to do something different now. And I guess something different is going 9-3 at Texas A&M.
So A&M's paying a lot. Gus Malzahn staying at Auburn. I'd say that was a similar situation there with Arkansas. Why the hell would you leave Auburn to go to Arkansas? Central Florida.
He's a native of the state.
Still terrible. Central Florida wants Kevin Sumlin, so we'll see if they get a deal done right there. Stacken, we'll get your thoughts here on Tennessee in a moment. Marcus, has anybody bungled anything worse than how Tennessee has handled this past 2 weeks? This is
I think it's fair to say that somebody's probably bungled it as bad, but I can't think of it. It's been incredible to watch, just like the number of really quality candidates that they've ran through. I think even hindsight would indicate that Greg Schiano, his connections to the Penn State thing are pretty loose. So I realize that I think it's clear they didn't want him for football reasons, and they just used the Penn State case as a reason to snap at him. But obviously, Mike Gundy uses him as a way to get another raise. Again, he's done that to him twice now in like 5 years. You got Jeff Brom, who's going to stay at Purdue. Dave Noren turned him down. I don't know if the Mike Leach thing is still going to happen. Nothing's really clear there. So, and then you've got Philip Fulmer, pushing out the AD. You got people writing crazy shit on that rock every 20 minutes outside of town or outside the stadium, calling them the Tennessee Browns, which I thought was hilarious, given the Jimmy Haslam connect. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine them bungling it more, especially when it seems clear that T. Martin wants the job. It's just like, give him a chance at it. I realize that, T. Martin's maybe got a baggage of his own, but I don't know what's so difficult about this. And it is amazing to see how badly they've messed us up.
Mr. Stacken, I know you. What happens? Maybe. See, because of what they did, you don't like Phil Fulmer because what he did. We're going to talk about that. And also, is Les Miles going to end up with this job?
God damn it, I hope not. He's a good coach. Why the hell would he want to go into this mess? I'm not.
Because he needs to coach. That's what he does. He needs to coach, and he needs to eat grass, so he's got to be in the SEC. That's just...
Well, now I think Les Miles has a great opportunity to slide into the analyst position at ESPN.
He's not good. Les Miles is not a good analyst. He shouldn't be on
he's not?
TV.
Okay.
Yeah, he's bad.
Has he been on TV? I guess I don't even know.
Fox Sports 1.
What, he did a Nebraska game, didn't he?
Well, look at Matt. I mean, Marcus, you're talking FS1 here. I mean, this is the network that has Skip Bayless on for crying out loud.
Sports, Marcus. Sports, for Christ's sakes. So who...
Okay, I don't know. I just think... I'm not saying that Philip Fulmer is a bad person, but there's clearly some animosity towards Curry because Curry edged him out for the...
Shooting them threes.
Right, yeah. For the AD position 8 months ago. So Fulmer was trying to sabotage this search, it sounds like. So I think, Tennessee fans ultimately probably won't care because they're like, yeah, this guy was good. But they're the ones who kind of ran him out because they were tired of him, I don't know, being a consistently good team, but never like a great team. championship, right?
That's right.
So, I just think the way he's handled this, it knocks his overall legacy down a little bit to me. Like, I don't look at him now as a truly great human being for what's going on here. But overall, Tennessee, like, I'm mad at Florida State. Tennessee's even worse. The people there are worse. I love the state of Tennessee, but my heart is with Vanderbilt, especially after Tennessee just did an asinine thing here. Regardless of what you think of Schiano, and I think everyone's mentioned it. It's probably the reason why that all this stuff regarding Penn State got dragged up is fans are like, why the hell are we getting Greg Schiano when we could get just about anybody else here? But if I'm Greg Schiano, I would go after everyone here, as many people as possible. Sue him for slander, sue him for libel, because I don't know if he's ever going to get another chance to be a head coach at a university like this. His name is now forever spoken by these illegitimate accusations, and I hate defending him if indeed he saw Sandusky do something and didn't do anything about it. So I'm defending an accessory to, child molestation. But as Marcus said, the accusations are so flimsy, and the evidence and everything. The Penn State Board of Trustees never charged him. So, I would go after everyone. I would go after the university. I would go after some people on Twitter that are saying shit. I'd be like, hey, you wrecked my name, and if he's not going to be with Urban Meyer or Bill Belichick, I don't know where he's ever going to get another job except at, North Texas.
Yeah, I feel like Greg Schiano will have another chance. Clearly, this didn't work out, but I think it's sort of becoming clear that this was messed up, and I think a lot of the blame goes on Tennessee. I don't think Greg Schiano wants to sue Tennessee or anybody involved, because I don't think he wants to deal with sort of the discovery process that would come with it. And then he may have to answer more questions on the Penn State thing or whatever that may be. So I don't think he wants to open himself up to that. I think that's probably a wise move on his part. I think he'll get another chance. He was at Rutgers, for God's sake. If he can stand it, he can work at some other school in the American or Conference USA. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a Power 5 job this time around or anytime soon. But I think he's somebody he's going to have to pay his dues. And I think that's more for just being a shitty coach in Tampa Bay and, treating players poorly, more so than getting railroaded at Tennessee.
Was he around for the MRSA? Was that correct or no?
Yep, he was the head coach then.
At that time? Okay. Ultimately, I really just wish terrible things upon Tennessee. I am that malicious and nasty that I hope that Tennessee just is it for at least the half dozen years. And I don't know if you're a head coach why you would want to go there unless you're at one of these local universities. I don't know why Les Miles would want to do it. Any coach looking at this AD or the athletic department and the university and all these fans and stuff, you're like, okay, I just don't know why I would even do it. So it has to be, I think, someone with ties like that, like Martin. Because I don't see them being able, or I don't see any other coach being willing to do that unless you're at one of these lower, like a Conference USA or a Sun Belt, something like that. I don't see any former Power 5 coach wanting to go there. I think it would be ridiculous.
I think the one thing that is maybe, if you exclude the Schiano stuff for a minute, I just think their whole list was sort of backwards. They went to Mike Gundy after Schiano. They went to Braun. If you had any inkling that Braun was available, how is he not your first
Why?
guy?
Yeah, why is Schiano Schiano's our number one guy, let's get it done. How
or Dave Doran or Mike Leach. Why, yeah.
I think that's as
egregious.
He's criticized as much as anything else in this process. Is just such wide varying styles from coach to coach. It's not like they have a specific number of skills or anything in mind. Like you wouldn't say Dave Doran's a great recruiter. You wouldn't say Mike Gundy necessarily is a great recruiter. They're just kind of firing wildly and just kind of guessing to see who they can get.
Mike Leach was the guy for me. If Mike Leach was the guy, that would have been fun as hell to see him go to Tennessee, see what he could do in the SEC.
It's funny though that we haven't heard John Gruden's name be brought up a whole lot here in this discussion yet. And I get that because he has said that he would prefer coaching pros versus college because of the recruiting and everything. But like his name was brought up kind of right away, and then everything kind of died down. But I don't think he's ever come out and said officially no, or we haven't heard the reports that Tennessee is even thinking about him. And it seems like that was kind of a fan favorite early on. Probably was one of just those wishful thinking moves, so to speak.
Wishful thinking at the highest order.
I think if he ever coaches again, which I think is a big if, he's going to go back to Tampa Bay or Oakland, or soon to be Las Vegas. If he's ever going to coach again, which at this point I would guess he's probably not going to coach again. Charlie, you got yourself a coach, Scott Frost. He's back in town after 20 years. How excited are you that this guy's back? And it seems like, offense. It's not good both ends of the ball, but he's been able to score points, Scott Frost.
I feel pretty good about it. In my lifetime of hires Nebraska's made,
the best.
This is the one I feel the best about. Now, granted, when Osborne retired and Frank Solich took over, I was in middle school, and I don't know if that's a way to really break down what you think about it.
Check the tapes. Check the tapes.
Yeah, I could. I'm not going to go back and.
We'll see what you said.
At least not now. I'll do that in the off season.
Good.
But I know just in terms of how good I felt about the future for Nebraska, and while I'm certainly not saying they're going to win a national title or anything, but just feeling positive about things. I don't expect Trexler or Stacken to remember this. If you do, kudos. Crins might, but maybe not. But I know in 2010, Nebraska's last year in the Big 12, they played undefeated Missouri in Lincoln and scored 24 points in the first quarter, and they had a running back run for over 300 yards. So this is the most positive I felt for Nebraska probably since the first quarter of that Missouri game 7 years ago.
I didn't know Lawrence Phillips was able to get out of jail.
Wow.
And year of eligibility.
What a shot.
It was true. It is early 40s. That's what Lawrence Phillips was doing.
Wow. Good for him.
Stacking is even up his.
The Nebraska fan base has been sort of like politics in Washington, D.C. Once they fired Frank Solich, half the people loved it, half hated it. And then the people who hated it or loved it had to be Bill Callahan fans, and that didn't work out. And it's been weird ever since then where no one can ever agree on anything. And I think this is the first time in, 15 years that people are actually I think everyone feels good about this. I don't know how long it'll be until they seriously compete for divisions or anything like that, but if anything, at least they do something really well at Central Florida under Scott Frost. And I think if you're going to a Power 5 school, you should at least, unless you can recruit Ohio State or Texas or USC, which most people can't, at least have something you're really good at. So I think they'll at least be really good offensively and hopefully go better than 4-8 next year.
He's going to stay for the bowl game. Recruiting-wise, he says he's going to recruit the players he was going to recruit to Central Florida, not to Nebraska. So how... What the hell is going on? Marcus, is this you?
I'm here. What's the matter?
Okay.
Alien invasion?
Could be. What do we got as far as recruiting and how? Because you never see the coach. Hell, Jimbo Fisher didn't even get goddamn courtesy to say goodbye. So Scott Frost, I think he's handled this well. Recruiting-wise, should this be an issue at all? Should we be worried or not? Or can he do both?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think it'll be interesting to see how things shake out, especially since they now have the early signing date for a few days in December coming up in a few weeks here.
He was there today? Press conference was today?
Yep, it was today at noon. And, so I don't know. It'll be intriguing to see how it works. I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be awkward at times, calling kids.
Hey, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Nebraska, go there. oh, I got to go so I can coach and break down Central Florida film for our Central Florida game.
So you got
I would just like to say one thing, or two things. I agree with what Charlie said with regards to Nebraska. You know, I think in some ways just embracing an identity here. You know, we joked kind of about how you wanted to, you know, go back to the triple option, but it was clear they were never going to do that. So I like that they're, you know, adopting the spread, a very, you know, unique style that Frost runs. I posted the piece from the Omaha World Herald today. I think, you know, and this kind of gets to my other point. I think some people in Nebraska, a lot of people in Nebraska, maybe, I wouldn't classify Charlie this way, are becoming, you know, they're just so fired up about the Frost, and they're, you know, cloudy about everything else, and they're not able to really see through the trees. I think Frost has his work cut out for him in a lot of ways, because it will take time to sort of get his system going. The story I was referencing was, you know, people talking about how he's going to bring a unique system to the Big Ten. Well, Ohio State's ran up-tempo spread for as long as Urban Meyer's been there, and the spread itself, damn near every team except Michigan pretty much, has elements of that in their offense. So it's not entirely unique. I don't know how they're not able to clearly see that.
Iowa as well. Iowa,
yeah, they'll never run anything that doesn't have
I
two
think
tight ends.
Wisconsin and Michigan State also, but outside of those four, I think the other 10 teams all do at least some version of it. So yeah, I agree with Traxler.
You know, it's just I thought it was negligent to not mention that, or not have some awareness that this won't be completely unique to Nebraska, no doubt. And I realize Nebraska's in the same division as my Gophers, but I certainly am rooting for this to work, even if some of my Husker rooting coworkers will be unbearable in the process. So
there we go. Nathan Stack, and I do have a trivia question.
Real quick.
Yes.
The only other thing I wanted to mention about it is that for a long time, or not a long time, but for the past few years, we see like athletic directors fire coaches like earlier and earlier, with the thoughts of like, let's get a head start. If we fire a guy earlier, it'll be easier to get the guy we want. And I think Florida and Tennessee have proved that firing a guy earlier does not necessarily help. And if you don't have the right athletic director, like at Tennessee, it can actually be a hindrance, because once you fire the head coach, all anyone talks about is who's the next head coach going to be. Well, if you leave the head coach out there and everyone to speculate about whether he's going to get fired or not, you can just do whatever you want behind the scenes much more easily as an athletic director or someone in the athletic department.
Since you brought that up, I'd also, you know, commend the effort of Nebraska's new athletic director, Bill Moos, because he got the job done. He made it very clear that he wanted Frost, and I think you guys have kind of mentioned that the respectfulness here at the end of the year to make this work out. I think that's great. That should be commended. And the fact that he got the right guy. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of dickering around, and he also let Riley coach till the end of the year, which I don't have a problem with. I realize he's a lame duck coach. Everybody knew it. Mike Riley knew it, but there's nothing wrong with sort of letting that go. The one thing about recruiting, you know, obviously Nebraska's sort of notorious for getting walk-ons from the state and, you know, having them be a big piece of the program. I heard he sort of addressed that, wanted to get back to the Tom Osborne days of getting, you know, kids from little schools to walk on, or little towns in Nebraska to walk on. You know, I think it's a lot more different now, and I think it directly pertains to North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Sort of on having those players and getting them on scholarships. So I think that's going to be a lot more difficult to replicate what they did with Osborne for all those years, where you're getting these players who only want to be a Husker, because college football's changed so much since then. And I think if kids have a chance to get a scholarship outside the state lines, they're going to do that. So I think he's really got a challenge. I think it's, you know, more so a nostalgic thing that a lot of people want to see that come back.
I agree 100%. I think you can do some stuff with walk-ons, but it was a lot easier when North Dakota State, South Dakota, and North Dakota were all Division II schools, where you wouldn't get everything paid for, as opposed to Division I schools, where you can get all of your education paid for, in addition to actually maybe being on TV sometimes too.
But there's no money for the players yet. Jimbo Fisher can
not
get
enough.
75.
PBS telethons to play these players. College basketball this past.
Charlie Rose, it won't happen.
Well, how dare you? How dare you sully the good name of Chuck
I
Rose?
would actually like to take the idea that Stacken just had. If you were to say, have a telethon or whatever, this is just sort of the basis for the idea. I think a lot more donors would rather have their money go to paying Johnny Johnson to take home a check every month and provide for his family if they're less fortunate than putting in a third $100,000 spot in their athletic building. I just think some of the money just gets blown. You saw the thing today with Jimbo Fisher getting off a private jet, and there's a goddamn band and a maroon carpet to welcome him off the plane. It's like, yeah, and I heard people say, yeah, don't have the money to pay the players. It's like, I think some of these donors would rather just have the money just go to the guys. They don't need this facility thing because it's just they end up having to blow through all this money at the end of the year because they
the buyouts. My God, the buyouts.
Yeah.
Doesn't Clemson have like a miniature golf course and like a movie theater or something?
Clemson, in addition to those, also has like a slide that goes down, which I mean, I don't have anything against that. But certainly, it's something you only do if you have a whole bunch of extra cash that you have to spend because you're a nonprofit organization.
That slide better be big enough for those 350-pound linemen. I tell you what, I don't even know if they have. But I mean, make sure the fat guys are able to slide down, as Coach Stig would say.
Those fat guys make it done. College basketball from the past week. Xavier won some games. I like to see Xavier winning the games.
They fought Cincinnati.
They did. Duke beat USD. The women lost to Louisville in a very close one. That's a game that
Did you go to that?
Nope. It's a game that apparently nobody else did either, so I wasn't alone. 2,000 people showed up. That's a disappointing crowd. So that was 2,500. Excuse me, let the record show. I was 500 short on that. So disappointing crowd, and when you're up by 8 at half and up by 12 in the first quarter, that's a game that you'd like to get because that's I don't know if that's the difference between being an 11 seed and a 10 seed, but Louisville's probably going to be in the top 10 at the end of the year and probably going to be no worse than a 2 seed. So
I would just like to address that and any other conversations we're going to have in March ahead of time. It's a good game, good that SDSU will have that on their RPI. But as far as getting a better seed and getting...
If they would have won.
Yes, it only counts if they would have won. Losing to them doesn't do you any good. I want people to understand that. I realize we probably got 3 people that watch this, but I'm telling everybody I see because I can just see it in March. Goddamn Western Illinois or somebody wins the league, and we're going to have this conversation. It's like, okay, well, if SDSU runs the tables from here on out, yeah, they'll probably get an at-large bid and that loss won't matter. But I hate the idea of people saying, well, they only lost by 4 to Louisville. No, you have to win that game. Losing by 4 doesn't get you anything extra except the RPI, the strength of schedule, whatever. So
I like that you brought that up, Traxler, because the first thing I saw it on Twitter. I didn't know that, or when they were playing Louisville, and the first thing I thought was, hey, they only lost by 4. That's good. And I was like, well, actually, I guess it would be good if they would have won. Like a close loss, like nobody, I don't know where they decide the tournament stuff, but nobody's going to be like, oh, they only lost by 4. I guess we're going to jump them up another seed now.
But is this the difference, though, between an at-large, like granting one to Northern Iowa, or...
Well, yeah. I mean, you still got to win. Did the Louisville
head coach grab the microphone afterward to address the crowd?
No, because the crowd sucked. That's why.
I don't know who it was, but I think one of their assistants tweeted some nice stuff about how great the crowd was and the band. And
did the Louisville SID take a picture with the student section? Just curious for notebook's sake. Yes or no?
I don't believe so.
Why not? Why not?
Because playing in Brookings, South Dakota is not a historic venue in
well, that's your opinion.
Frost Arena is one of the top 100 arenas in the country.
Well, it is one of the top 350 Division I venues in the country.
It is one of the top 100 women's Division I basketball program venues, maybe.
Absolutely. The men, they beat Old Miss. That's a good win. Almost shit the bed there, up by 25. So Old Miss probably now they're not making the tournament, but good win to get. Missouri State would have been a really good win, but they couldn't quite get that. So they charge on. They got Wichita State, so that's not going to be great.
Again, another instance where if they, the wins over Iowa and Ole Miss will get more attention.
All right.
The Missouri State game last night was more important as far as
RPI.
end of the season, RPI, all that jazz. Yeah, and well, they didn't even show up. It wasn't even a close game. So in that sense, nothing to worry about. But
some cold shooting.
Yeah, and the women did not play particularly well against Louisville. And they still, first quarter was fine. After that was not good. Maya Sellen was probably their best player. So I think that says something about her.
I think they shot, at one point they were shooting like 35% as a team. And it's like the fact that they were even in the game with Louisville is something to be okay with.
Early on, they rebounded well. And Louisville, one of the better rebounding teams. I think they were 5th in rebound differential in the country.
Yeah.
At Oklahoma coming up, they got to win that game. They have to beat Oklahoma.
Yep.
They got to win. I expect them to win. And
Oklahoma's still ranked, right, in the top 20?
They're getting votes. They're not ranked. They're getting votes.
Okay,
you need to beat them.
Right?
Possibly, really are.
Fell out.
You got to beat them. You got to beat Bowling Green. So you got to get some good wins here. Next week, a bevy of games stacking. Tuesday night is the night. Villanova and Gonzaga at Madison Square Garden on Tuesday. Great. You have my Nevada squad at Texas Tech, SMU at TCU. You have Virginia at West Virginia. Wisconsin was a great shit fest.
They're still playing the replay games from that because
what is this, the fifth? The fifth time they've tried to get this game in, they still can't break 50.
How bad is Wisconsin this year? I didn't recognize how bad they were.
Well,
this looks like a terrible team.
Their schedule is tough, but they're getting blown out. I hope the fuck they're not this like 19-13 team that has like a 30 RPI and like the number 2 ranked schedule when we get to March here. So that's what I don't want.
Let's also say that Wisconsin a few times over the last 3 or 4 years has started really slow, and all of a sudden by the middle of February we're like, oh, actually they're like one of the 30 best teams in the country. It turns out.
But I don't know if they've gotten off to like this slow of a start, being under 500. At least I can't.
Well, that year that Bo Ryan quit in the middle of the year, I think they were pretty bad when Bo Ryan quit.
That was last year.
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know what their record was. I'm assuming they were below 500 if your head coach is leaving in the middle of the year, but I don't know that for a fact.
I would also like to address the Big Ten. They got, I don't know what the final score was in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Not good.
3. Good thing Nebraska beat Boston College.
Thank God. They got pants, and I was reading because I follow the Gophers. Their beat writer for the Star Tribune is pretty homerish, I would say.
Who is this?
The Gophers.
Who is this?
Marcus Fuller.
Okay.
Just beating the drum for the Big Ten and the
Corey's
Gophers
brother. Corey's brother.
Yeah.
Corey Fuller.
And I just would like to address that. I don't think that league is going to be that good this year. I think Michigan State will be the number 1 team. Minnesota should be 2. Northwestern's going to be up there. Purdue's going to be up there. After that, I don't think there's a lot of really good teams. Who knows where Wisconsin will finish. Iowa's in the shitter right now as well, obviously. So I don't think the league. Maybe Indiana if they can figure some stuff out, but I don't want to hear people saying it's a good league or if we're on this because I don't. They're not getting it done right now.
There are a lot of 7 and 10 seeds coming out of there.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, 5, 6, 7. The fact, and David messaged me a little bit ago. Minnesota's got a good chance of getting to the end of the non-conference at 14-1. So that's not for nothing. But after that, I just don't think the league is.
What's the ceiling for a Minnesota? Can they get a 3 seed, 4 seed?
I feel like it's the 4. I mean, if they can get some big wins in conference play, yeah, maybe a 3.
A&M at Arizona. Arizona has been a terrible team. They needed overtime to beat UNLV the other night.
Oh, damn it! I thought UNLV. Wasn't UNLV winning that game?
Yeah, they were ahead. They were ahead by about 9 at half. So A&M.
Scrappy squad, UNLV.
Yeah, A&M. They play Arizona Tuesday. You got Rhode Island at Alabama Wednesday. Alabama's going to play all 5 players. You have
Alabama lost today, I think. I don't know who they played.
Central Florida.
Central Florida.
Yeah.
Central Florida. Yeah, and that Sexton guy that everybody was blowing their load about when they played Minnesota because he had like 40 points. He didn't do diddly shit. I don't think he made a field goal all game. So Alabama, not a good look for Minnesota, and not awesome for Alabama lately.
Rhode Island at Alabama Wednesday. Nevada at TCU on Friday. Then Saturday's got some games. Minnesota at Arkansas. Alabama at Arizona. You have Wichita State at Oklahoma State. Colorado at Xavier. You also have Florida and Cincinnati. Your slate for Saturday. So
who plays Colorado?
Xavier. Colorado's going to get their ass kicked by my exes.
SCCU plays Colorado soon, and I think that's a game SCCU should be in the mix on.
December 15th when they play, I think they can beat Colorado. Honestly, you go through that list of games right there, the game that intrigues me the most is Florida-Cincinnati because Cincinnati has a great defense, and I think Florida's a Final Four team.
Florida's got a good offense. Nova and Gonzaga. Oh, my heavens.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, that's a very good game as well. Who would have thought, though, I'm sure Arizona's going to make the tournament, but at this point, who would have thought that we would be talking about Arizona State being the best team in the state of Arizona?
Grand Valley. Get Grand Valley in the thing here.
Question on Arizona.
Grand Canyon.
Oh, them too. What did I say? Grand Valley.
Grand Valley.
Good Lord.
I'm going to do the real Grand Valley in Texas.
You think about Division II.
Grand Valley State. Charlie.
I'm going to do a college football to college basketball scenario. Conversion question. By the end of the college basketball season, who will have been more disappointing? Arizona basketball or Florida State football?
Florida State football.
Yep. I'll go with that.
I mean, if Arizona somehow misses the NCAA tournament, that will supersede Florida State in my book. But I think Arizona will find a way to make the tournament. I mean, the fact that Arizona, for some people, was the number 1 team in the country, and they just dropped like a rock. I mean, that's insane.
Some people had them in their Final Four this year. Not going to name names.
Stacking.
I'm occasionally spiteful when it comes to college basketball based off being screwed over in March Madness, and part of me is like, you know what? Thanks for being bad, Arizona. You screwed me over the last few years. I'm glad that you're not enjoying success.
We are glad.
If they're like a 9 seed, you're not going to pick them, so that's good. I mean, if they can just not even be in contention to begin with, unfortunately, they'll be that trendy second round upset team over 1 seed.
That 11 seed that makes the Elite Eight.
Yeah, exactly.
No, if they're a 9 seed and they're playing Villanova, I mean, I think.
Oh my God! Fuck.
Something's got to give. Wildcat on Wildcat crime.
Stacking. First off, explain to me the hubbub with this Eli Manning thing. Jesus Christ, did people give a shit more than I did? Because I didn't give a shit at all about this fucking story.
You're treating a 2-time Super Bowl winner like he's a pile of scrap metal. I mean, what they were 1? What are they? 1-10, 1-9. They're 2-10 now.
2-10.
Actually played somewhat decent today in a 7-point loss to the Raiders. But do not blame the Giants' record on Eli Manning. He has no offensive line.
Sure.
He has his top 2 wide receivers who are out. His last wide receiver had to stay in a dark room for the last 3 weeks because he had a migraine. So
he's got a mob boss as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, who clearly has spent all his money on hair gel and grease or whatever. So don't blame this on Eli Manning, and to give him the...
Are they, though? Are they blaming this on him? Or are they saying, hey, you're 37, we've won 2 games.
They are, because...
We gotta find a quarterback here, and...
fuck, you're going to find that with Geno Smith? They said,
Are you going to find it? What if I would have told you Case Keenum's going to lead the goddamn team to a 2 seed? You'd have been like, what?
Okay. Well, honestly, you know what Geno Smith did. He was in the same damn.
Okay, what about what they've got? Davis Webb from Cal and Texas Tech.
You know what? Maybe play him in the preseason. How about you do that? But to give Eli the whole, you can play, but we're only gonna play you a half, and then we're gonna throw Geno Smith. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what does that have to do?
So are they tanking for? I mean, they don't have to tank because they're bad with or without him anyway. So why do you think they benched him? To get a good draft pick?
That's a great question. I don't know. I really don't know. Because the reasoning behind it is ridiculous. If you're going to bench him, then bench him for the full game. Don't say...
Well, they want this streak to give...
Don't say... They said, we are going to let you start the game, and we're going to pull you at halftime. This ain't the preseason.
This ain't Detroit.
Intramurals, brother.
This isn't Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. If you want to tank, quote unquote.
Well, they're doing a pretty good job of it because all their players are hurt.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. You can't pin this on Manning. So for them to say, if you want to bench him because he hasn't played great, then bench him entirely. Don't give him this alternate route to go on. And don't say you have to evaluate the quarterbacks and then start Geno Smith. He sucks. If you want Davis Webb in there, play him more in the preseason. And you know what? Play him in, when they were trailing 56 to 21 to the Rams a few weeks ago, that's where you throw Davis Webb in there for the last quarter and a half or so. But none of this garbage here that they do. They just look ridiculous for it. And I hope Eli Manning goes to Jacksonville, reunites with Tom Coughlin, and boots Blake Bortles out the door.
Can I just say,
most important question I've maybe ever asked you on the Sports Lounge.
Yeah.
3-way. Who do you hate the most? The person who decided to bench Eli Manning, the Tennessee person who spray painted Greg Schiano covered up child rape, or LeVar Ball? Who do you hate the most?
LeVar Ball. It's not even close. You know what? I will say this here. Stan Kroenke, he is falling down rapidly on the list right now.
I would say, Sack, and you're getting soft.
I know I am, but no one will.
Wait, do you hate LeVar Ball more than Stan Kroenke right now?
I do.
Got a new #1 seed.
Playoff rankings out next week. Marcus, what the hell am I missing here? Why do I not check?
I would just like to commend Stackin, right or wrong, for getting fired up. So fired up about this.
I get fired up over the little shit.
You really do. I can't really figure it out at all how you're able to get this fired up about this.
I can't either.
I'll put it this way. Eli sucks, man. He is not good. He's old as shit now at this point. I think, like you said, his team is terrible. I think there's probably some gas in the tank if you put him somewhere else, give him a prayer of winning. But I don't understand what the right way of handling this was supposed to be. I would agree with you that it was dumb to have this preconceived notion that, well, we'll start you to keep your streak going. You'll play half the game, then we'll give it over to the next guy. They have to let the next guys take a crack. If they think Geno Smith, for some godforsaken reason, is the quarterback, I guess you let him go out there and go and try it. I think more importantly, like you said, Davis Webb is the guy you need to figure out what you have. He's the guy that needs to be playing right now, not Geno Smith. I think Eli Manning, he looks great in this scenario because he wasn't willing to just keep the streak going for the hell of it.
And that's commendable.
It is commendable. And I think he's going to have a chance to go play somewhere else and maybe possibly stick it to the Giants. But it's, I think it's helping probably get McAdoo fired earlier. And the sooner they can do that, the better off they're going to be. So I just look at it as I didn't think there was really any way to win at it. People were kind of going to be upset either way just because the Giants are managed so incompetently.
You know what? And you're right. first off, I don't know why I get so passionate about this shit.
Especially these teams like that you're not a fan of. Like if you were a Giants fan and you were this fired up, I'd get it. But it's like Stacken's he's blowing his brain out about the Giants.
Giants and Tennessee football.
Why'd the 49ers bench their tight end? God damn you, 49ers.
It's my moral compass.
It's the Wednesday night church check-ins. You've changed, Stacken. You've changed.
Hey, those go for a good cause, though, because they do, like, meals for people.
Is that like the box tops? The box tops on the cereal.
I'm not trying to brag that I'm at
the box tops on the cereal. The soup
Anyway.
labels on the Campbell soup.
Yeah. So
Sure.
there are a couple things here regarding, as mentioned, the way it was handled was very poorly. I do want Eli to go to Jacksonville because the Giants and the Jaguars play next year, and I want Eli to stick it to the Giants. I do think, to a certain extent, the fact that he has the longest consecutive, the streak does play a factor in this. Like, he's approaching that Brett Favre territory.
He's still 5 years away.
He's at 210, though, which is a very commendable.
He's second all time.
Yep.
He's still 87 away.
So I think if he were a guy that had like 50 consecutive starts, 60 consecutive or whatever, and you know what, maybe there you don't, but it's still a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. They wouldn't have their 2 Super Bowls in the Manning era without Eli Manning.
That's an interesting hypothetical. Would they have won the Super Bowls, any of them or one of them, if somebody else was their quarterback?
At maximum, they would have won the one.
Considering
and that's only because Michael Strahan and the defensive line played the quarterback.
I know, he's probably making.
Dilfer, I would say no.
He's probably making the Hall of Fame.
David Carr.
Well, no. Somebody of comparable stand, like Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
What is it, 17-14 in the one Super Bowl? He's gonna make the Hall of Fame. He's got like 50,000 passing yards or close to it.
Maybe we should be doing this. Would it be the same if the Giants had Ben Roethlisberger or Philip Rivers?
Oh my God!
One of those two instead.
I would say absolutely.
Because the Steelers have won 2 Super Bowls with Roethlisberger,
and they've gone to 3.
2 and Blake 3.
And they lost. So that's.
And I don't know if Manning would have the 2 Super Bowls with Pittsburgh necessarily,
or San Diego. Back in the day.
I saw somebody say that like Manning plays the high ground in this scenario, but he was the one who wouldn't play in San Diego to start his career, and it's like I'm not sure I would necessarily hold that against him from 15 years ago, but whatever people need to do, I guess.
I think it's also, you saw the outpouring of support and just how insane people were going, like the current players, former players.
It was very similar. It was very similar when Princess Diana died. I thought it was very similar.
But, New York, obviously,
they have a lot of
sports fans that don't, they're always like, hey, they're complaining about everything, and they always like to blame players. But there was legitimate compassion for Eli. Like, people were outraged at this decision. It's not even so much that Eli is quarterbacking a 2-10 team. It's the fact that the Giants if you could have paid me, I would have bet a lot of money if you had told me at the beginning of the year that the Giants would be the most functional team in New York between them and the Jets at the beginning of the year, because the Jets looked like shit. The Giants looked good. And now, look at how the Jets have played. Remarkable.
Texas is back.
Yeah. That.
Also, the only thing I will say about the Jets all year, I think Todd Bowles should be the coach of the year for them not just being a complete dumpster fire.
Only 5-7.
They were supposed to be the one who were getting the tankathon on, and it's the Giants. So.
And if Eli Manning doesn't play there again or doesn't play next year, they're getting a top 5 pick. If there's a quarterback they want, they can pick them, and they probably should because they need one. And if you bring those receivers back, that's a pretty good offense.
I heard people I heard some people say that, if you're a free agent, like, why would you want to go to New York after they just dissed an all-time franchise player like Eli Manning like this? I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'll go quite that far. I think I'd have much more of an issue going to Houston, where Bob McNair is a racist
bastard.
And have an inmate from the asylum. I have a problem going with him. But you look at Houston and the talent that they have. Have Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, all coming back from injuries. Like, that's a better team to go to probably than the Giants. But you look at how each ownership has handled these situations. And then you have Cleveland, but that's a whole separate issue. I just think it's kind of interesting how players might look at this now, how each of these teams' owners have made names for themselves and not in a good way.
Real quick, what's the funniest team that Eli could be the starting quarterback at next era?
Broncos?
The Browns.
Yeah.
Broncos would be funny. I would say the Kansas City Chiefs, because they would be trading in Alex Smith and not using their first-round guy, Mahomes, to start as really old Eli Manning.
Redskins?
How about Indianapolis?
Washington and New York trading quarterbacks is the one
I think they're just going to cut him.
That's a good point.
I think they're just going to cut him.
Indianapolis, because Andrew Luck's shoulder still won't be ready for a fourth year, so they bring in
anywhere.
Brother.
Well, this was the first time since the last week of the 97 season a Manning was not starting. First time in 20 years. First time in 20 years. Also, Stacking, what was significant about Geno Smith starting for the Giants?
I don't know. He sucks.
Marcus.
The Giants, I believe, were the last NFL team to not have a black quarterback start a game, and he was their first.
Charlie goes first, Marcus second, Nathan last. Give me a number. I have the teams here, and you give me the number, I'll give you the team. Then you name the last black quarterback to start for that team.
Not the first, but the most recent.
The most recent
to start for that team.
Yes.
All right, numbers between 1 and 1.
The Giants are not on this list. Like 1 and 31, I suppose. I think I skipped 30. I don't know if I did. I must have done a duplicate number somewhere, so we'll get there when we get there. But 1 through 30, 1 through 31 right now.
I have to imagine that the same name appears on this list multiple times.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Charlie.
Can I pick number 69?
Syracuse.
I will take 6 then.
Clemson. You will take number 6?
Correct.
The Atlanta Falcons. Goddamn pen.
I'm trying to think if any have done it.
Goddamn
since
pen.
Michael Vick. I can't think of any because it's been Matt Ryan for a lot of that. I will say Michael Vick.
Byron Leftwich in 07.
Oh, man.
There's a few of those in there.
There's
a few of those in there, folks. So look out for your dicks on this one, Marcus.
I'll take number 22.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I believe Jameis Winston would be the most recent.
Felony Winston on the list. Rapist Winston on the list.
I am overthinking this right now.
Yeah, you just got to pick a number.
Because the first thing I thought was like, have they had one since Sean King? And
That's what I thought.
How about the guy who's literally been starting since 2015 or whatever?
Oh my God. Number 9.
49ers.
Colin Kaepernick.
He's half. I don't count him. No, he's fine. He's fine. Charlie.
You need standards only. People that stand for the national anthem, though.
Show some goddamn respect, would you?
Kaepernick's out.
Please.
Let's go lucky number 7.
The Buffalo Bills.
I will assume that it is Tyrod Taylor.
A gentleman that started mere hours ago, Tyrod Taylor.
Nope, Nathan Peterman.
Good old Dickman.
Nathan Peterman sounds like a real black name.
Nathan Dickman.
Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
Nope. The dentist is up.
Nope. Number 15.
The Detroit Lions.
I feel like you got to go pretty far back.
This is Detroit. This actually is Detroit.
I have no idea.
Can I wager a guess if he doesn't pick
Any
one?
takers? You got a taker there, Tom.
Is it Charlie Batch?
No.
There had, but yeah, I was thinking him, and like there's gonna be somebody more recent.
I keep thinking of Tony Banks. I don't know why Tony Banks is in mine. I mean, I know it's not for the Lions, but I feel like Tony Banks is going to be on this board somewhere.
2009 Dante Culpepper.
Oh shit!
Oh man, I forgot that he was played for the Lions. Also, does anyone else feel really old when you think 2009 was 8 years ago?
Yeah, and we're getting there. We're getting old, folks.
Nathan Sacken to take the lead. To be like Tiger Woods on day 2 at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Number 16.
The Eagles. The last black to play for the Eagles.
I'll say Donovan McNabb. I don't think anyone else is.
There was this guy, he beat the Dogs, Michael Vick.
Oh shit!
He was really good. It was like a
So
great.
Michael Vick was the right answer, just not for the one that I thought was going to be initially.
Like he was very exciting for those couple of months. We were tied at 1. We're 1-1-1 through round 2. 1-1-1.
Dang it!
I will take number 1.
The New England Patriots.
Oof. Let's see.
Charlie trying to sweep the AFC East here.
Oh no! And I just thought of who it is, and I can't think of what his name is. The guy who started last year when Brady was on suspension from North Carolina State, I think. Who maybe was the guy that started at Florida to start his career. Why can't I think of what his name is? I want to say J.P. Lossman. I know that's not his name. That's the guy from Tulane.
He's very white, J.P. Lossman.
I give up. What's his name, Krenz?
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett.
That's right.
What is it? Marcus.
Number 10.
Is this no? Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott is a black, and he starts.
I was thinking Quincy Carter. I'm not thinking Curran.
Good Lord.
Oh my God. 4. Please let it be the Colts.
The Broncos. Good luck, sir. Good luck. If you get this one, I should do daily doubles. That's what I should.
What team is this?
The Denver Broncos.
Oh.
There's a couple impossible ones on here.
George Johnson.
Jarius Jackson.
Oh yeah, him.
2003. At least you got the first parts right. Charlie.
I'll go number 2.
Is that a personal problem or?
It's the highlight of my day, usually.
The Green Bay Packers.
I will go with one Brett Hundley.
Who I believe is still the only black to start. I believe they had maybe Seneca Wallace for a game, perhaps.
They had that BJ guy too, right? BJ Wallace, wasn't he on the roster?
Maybe.
Seneca Wallace.
They had Seneca Wallace too, but he never started.
BJ.
They had a BJ guy who's kind of fat.
Oh, BJ Daniels?
BJ Daniels, was he a quarterback?
I think from South Florida.
Yeah.
Marcus.
Number 4, is that out there?
I picked that.
You picked that.
Number 17.
The Panthers.
I'll take Cam Newton.
Cam Newton. Nathan.
14. 14?
The Jets.
Has to be Geno Smith, right?
Geno Smith last year. Charlie and Nathan have 2. Marcus has 3.
I will take 21. Hit me.
Texans. The Houston Texans.
I'm glad I thought about it for a second. I will go with Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, black guy this year. Marcus.
Number 28.
The Colts.
Fuck.
All right, Herb, straight just walk
Very
off the set.
interesting that Stacken is like forcing him that he should get a certain team, especially when it's not his favorite team.
I don't even know who's starting for him right now.
Stacken's going to blow his load. Just craziness.
Oh, shit, yeah, Jacoby Brissett, yeah. What?
Everyone, Marcus, all 4 Marcus has picked, he's gotten right because they're quarterbacks right
The
now.
current guys, yeah.
What a deal. The luck of the draw.
Can I just break in with some news? Football Scoop says that USD coach Bob Nielsen has been offered the head coach job at Kent State. So
Be solid. Well,
Ah.
maybe I don't know if it would be a move up in division. I don't know if Kent State's a great job.
What was you there?
Imagine they'd offer him more money.
3 years? 2 years or 3 years? 3 years?
this will. I think this was just his second year.
Yeah, this was just his second year at USD.
We'll see what Otzelberger does, but I mean, Amy Williams left, obviously. I mean, USD is just that stepping stone, and you come to SDSU, you stay a while. Nathan Sacker. If you're going to pick the worst possible one, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. You mean the Denver Broncos
wasn't great.
Wasn't
great.
I'm sure I'll get the Arizona Cardinals here with pick 23.
Pick 23, calling his shot. He thinks it's the Cardinals. It's the Dolphins.
Oh, man!
That ain't much better.
The Miami Dolphins. Charlie, do you know?
No, I do not know.
You
I
have a
can
guess.
wager a guess, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Black quarterbacks for Miami.
There's got to be one post Dante Culpepper, but I'll say Dante.
Any guess there, Charlie?
My guess would have been Dante Culpepper. I know they had Pat White. I don't think Pat White ever started, though. He was only in the NFL for 1 year because he got concussed and left.
Pat White was the last player to die during a game, I think it was.
No joke. Watching that game against the Steelers when he got hit is the first time in my life watching football I was like, this guy might actually be dead right now.
Yes.
Are we talking about Matt Moore last year?
No, Pat White. Like an old, whatever that.
The Matt Moore one wasn't pretty either, but the Pat White one was worse.
Cleo Lemon in 2007.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that Cleo Lemon played. The year they only won 1 game, beat the Ravens in overtime. He had that win for them.
There was a UFC last night. There was a punch. I thought the guy was dead. It was bad. 4, 3, and 2. Marcus, Charlie, Nathan. Charlie, you're up.
I'll go 28.
Already done.
Yep.
27. Let's see. I think he played some quarterback. I'm going to guess Terrell Pryor.
E.J. Manuel a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
Another terrible quarterback.
That's right. I keep forgetting that he's not playing this year.
He's back now? He missed, 2 weeks, and he was supposed to miss, 6? Raiders still not good. Marcus.
Number 19, is that out there?
Yep. The Chargers. Good luck. The Chargers.
The Chargers. Jesus Christ.
I don't think Jesus Christ was black.
I think he would classify as Middle Eastern.
Yeah, it's Judges.
Family Guy, though, did a spoof with Black Jesus.
Judges? Nope. Judges?
I mean, I can only think of like 4 quarterbacks in their entire history, so, and none of them are black.
It's a guy named, I'll just say it. It's a guy named James Harris from 1978.
Is it really?
That's the,
that's what I was going to guess.
Of all the names on this, that's the only one I have never heard of. There was another one.
You heard of the Broncos guy?
I had heard of him because Dan Beck's a Broncos fan, obviously. I believe that game was 0-3 at the end. I believe it was at Green Bay. There was one other name on this list. We know who he is. I did not know he played for that team. Nathan Stack. To get back in the game here. To get back in the game.
What am I, 2? 13.
13, you say. The Saints. Who's a black for the Saints?
I might be able to think of the guy, but I can't remember what his name is. A lot of these guys over the years, I've forgotten names from different times.
Aaron Brooks.
Yes.
Nice.
That's who I thought, but I couldn't remember what his name was.
4, 3, and 3. We got a goddamn Donnybrook. Charlie, to tie.
I will take the highest number remaining.
31, the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, it's unfortunate that I got this one. Well, thinking about it now, I guess I'm going to say Teddy Bridgewater.
Ted Bridgewater, 215.
See, I'm fucking overthinking this. I would have said Tavares Jackson.
Terrible.
You're an idiot.
So
I'm terrible. Yes, I'm terrible at this.
Bridgewater did not start last year, so the streak ended last year of 25 years in a row of a black quarterback.
Man, that was a good thing the Vikings had going.
And it might end this year as well. Marcus, tied again. How does he respond?
Number 8, is that out there?
The Redskins.
I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to think about it. My guy, Bob Griffin III.
Bob Griffin, I. Boing, boing.
Heisman winner.
Heisman, Mr. Heisman. Nathan stacking to keep in the race here.
30?
That's the number I did not get somewhere here, so.
Okay.
I'll pick again.
11.
Jacksonville, how do you say the Jacksonville team?
No.
Jaguars.
Jaguars. The Jaguars.
Fair, right or wrong, I 100% say Jaguars.
Good.
Like wires of copper.
Now, do you think the stars of the hit show Jag back in the day are a fan of this team?
I hope so.
Contractually obligated to be.
Well, since that show was on CBS and the Jaguars play all their games on CBS, I would hope so. I don't want to say Byron Leftwich, but I will.
David Garrard.
Fuck. East Carolina Panther. I knew that.
The guy who advertised Crohn's disease.
It's not great for the diseases. Charlie, to tie it up again. What do we got? Maybe 2 rounds to go? 2 or 3?
I will switch it up, and instead of highest, I will say the lowest remaining number numerically.
I believe it's number 2. Be the Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's see. To be fair, I do not know who the current starting quarterback for the Bengals is, so it could be someone this year. I just thought of who I'm blanking on what the guy's name is now. The guy that they took in the first round. I'm gonna say Akili Smith.
0-2, Akili Smith.
Nice.
Bang! Marcus, you're tied again. How will he respond?
I'll do with Charlie and give me the highest number that's left.
It's a lot easier than just picking random numbers and just saying the highest
I
number.
believe it's 29.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens. Not easy, not easy.
Traxler gets it wrong. Can I wager a guess?
I would like also to wager a guess.
I'm going to say Troy Smith.
Well, that was my guess.
Troy Smith it is.
Nice.
Well, that was not right.
Tyrod Taylor never started a game.
I know that.
Gun down in his prime.
Stacking to stay alive. Okay, numbers left.
That's Heisman Trophy winner Troy Smith.
I'll take the lowest number possible.
Number 3.
Yeah, you read off those numbers. I'll write them down quick.
Okay, 20. Okay, 25, 18,
Yep.
12, 26, 5, 24, and your Powerball is 20.
Good.
And Stacking took the lowest left, which is number 3. It's the Seattle Seahawks.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, Stacking, not dead. Not dead.
It's actually not the guy who's the third quarterback.
What do we got? 9 numbers left?
You just read off 7 numbers.
Okay. Charlie.
I will go number 18. Texas is the back.
Texas playing in the Texas Bowl. Still
I hope they get picked by Missouri.
Number 18 is the Cardinals.
The echo is still there.
We got an echo. Hello. Hello.
Let's see. Cardinals.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
I don't have a great guess here. I will take a stab in the dark and say it was some random guy that we've heard of. So I know Corinne said there's one that's a random guy you've heard of, but not from the team you think.
This was the one. This was the
It
one.
is. I'm going to guess Quincy Carter.
I know.
You fucking know?
Yep.
Okay.
Is it Logan Thomas?
Sean King.
Sean King.
Wait, Logan Thomas. Did Logan Thomas play?
Cool.
He played. I don't know. I don't think he started.
Logan Thomas? Are you talking about the Virginia Tech tight end? Stacking?
No, I'm talking about the Virginia Tech quarterback. Logan Thomas.
I don't think he started. Mr. Marcus.
I'll take number 5.
He's one of 9 in his career passing. He was 1 of 9 for 81 yards. He had a good one, 81 yards. Number 9.
I said number 5.
Number 5, the Titans from Tennessee.
Oh boy.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
I'm thinking of somebody who got murdered on Independence Day.
Well, to be fair, that could be multiple people.
That's right.
That's the only one I can think of.
That's right. And I mean, is the current quarterback they have black? I don't know the answer to that.
I always assumed that he was just Hawaiian, but I don't know that.
Well,
So kind of, if you get this, you got a good chance of winning. If not, Charlie maybe has a chance to tie this.
It's Billy Volek.
We'll go with Vince Young.
Vince Young, 2010, Vince Young.
Oh man, I forgot all about Vince Young.
How many we got left here?
And then just fell off a cliff after
We
that.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stacking. If you don't get this, you're out, and I will give the last 2 to those guys. See if Charlie can tie it.
Okay. I would like to just mention that Logan Thomas was the quarterback for the Cardinals. He was going to start in Week 17.
But then 9/11 happened?
No, it was a shaky week of practice, and so the Cardinals went with Ryan Lindley. So
Good
Weird that
choice.
a guy who went 1 for 9 in his career had a shaky week at practice.
Well, would you rather go, 25 of 30, or would you rather go like 4 of 40 for 240 yards? You only complete 10% of your pass. You only complete 10% of your passes, but every one you do is an 80-yard touchdown, huh? That wouldn't be too bad.
It's the new analytics.
Yeah. To stay in the game here.
Oh, me.
Yes, you.
25?
25 is available.
Sure, let's do that.
Chicago Bears. There's a twist at the end of the game. A twist that I just thought of.
Twist cones are very good. Twist cones are good.
Is the twist answer Clint Eastwood?
Perhaps. This is a black quarterback, if that narrows it down.
Thanks for that.
Well, in that case.
A black quarterback. Doug Flutie.
No.
It's true. Doug Flutie threw for 500 yards once as a Chicago Bear.
Your magic number is 1. You need to win. You need to win or you're done.
I think you picked the wrong team, Stack.
Not great.
No, I don't.
Stacken picked the Dolphins. That's not great.
No. I pick all the bad teams.
The Broncos. Broncos wasn't easy.
Well, you also picked some where it was the current starter, and you just answered too quickly.
Capper.
Yeah, that's very true.
You missed Michael Vick.
Is this pre-1985 or post-1985?
Pre or post merger?
Before the merger. This is recent.
Alec Cosell.
Yeah. John Lennon's been shot.
Very important news we got to get to.
Before the fucking field goal, John Lennon dead. Ted Koppel.
Field goal.
Ted Koppel. We'll have more on Nightline tonight. There should be.
I don't.
Jason Campbell 5 years ago.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about Jason
There
Campbell.
should be.
The last team I thought Campbell. It was the Browns series. I didn't know he didn't play for the Bears. So
There should be a bunch of networks that just play old shit. They should start it January 1st of
it's
next.
called ESPN Classic.
No. Like ABC, NBC, whatever. And they should, if you want to start whenever, 1960, 1980, I don't give a shit when you start it. January 1st, you go from there.
You just replay everything that they showed.
Yep, go just like they did the JFK stuff. All right, this is 11 a.m. December, whatever that, November, whatever. Charlie, to stay alive here, you need this one.
What's the
You have 26.
lowest number remaining?
You have 20, 24, 26, and 12.
I'll take 12.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Chefs.
Let's see.
Chiefs.
It's been Alex Smith for a little bit. Alex Smith hasn't been with the Chiefs like that long, though. And instantly, I'm like, I don't even remember who their quarterback was before Alex Smith already. So this might not go well. I remember when Trent Green and Joe Montana were their quarterbacks. I feel like I'm missing large windows in there. There was a guy named Tyler Thigpen, I think, but I'm pretty sure he was a Caucasian. I don't know, because like half of these, I'm thinking of guys they drafted. I don't remember any quarterbacks that the Chiefs drafted except like Mahomes this year, and I don't think he started at all. I will take a rant. You know what? I'm going to guess Quincy Carter again.
Warren Moon.
Oh.
2000.
Wow.
Warren
2000?
Moon. Yes.
Whoa, jeez.
53 then?
Check your dick. I told you to check your dicks, did I not?
Well,
The ultimate. He's like 45 when he retired. 44.
Didn't they say this year that Mahomes was the first quarterback they'd taken in the first round since Todd Blackledge in like '83.
Probably, yeah. They don't do quarterbacks.
Amazing.
Marcus is 1, but you still have a couple left.
Number 20.
The Browns.
Oh boy.
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, he's a black guy.
This year, Deshaun Kaiser.
Marcus, he won. Yes. Stacking, there are 2 left, 24 and 26.
Wait, no, I'm out of this.
But I gave, if Charlie would have gotten it and Marcus would not have, Charlie would have been down 1 with 1 to go. So
give me the harder of the two.
That's what she said.
That's why I'm in this predicament here that I'm in with the kid on the way.
That's right. Number 1, number 2, yes. Number 24, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers.
You also get the next one as well. You get the last 2.
Oh, good. Goody.
I know this.
Watch me fail not once, but twice. How about Byron Leftwich?
No.
Michael Vick.
No.
Michael Vick. He got both from Michael Vick.
The Eagles. I do not remember him with the Steelers at all.
2 years ago. The rapist got hurt, so he had to fill in.
I'm thinking about it right now that it would be hilarious if Robert Griffin, with his shitty knees, had to play at Heinz Field, one of the shittiest services in the league. That'd be fun.
Nobody picked 26. Stacking, this is for you.
Okay.
The Rams.
The Rams.
Tony Banks, but...
Bam! From downtown.
You got it. Mark
Yeah, I
Fudge.
said it. Yes, I said Tony Banks had to be one of these answers.
He was one of them.
Yeah. I am very satisfied now with my...
Let me get some jelly beans.
Sackett licked his finger, shot from half court. It took him 17 tries, but he finally made it.
I won the State Farm Scholarship.
Times ran out. He's down by 6. They're going to lose, but he hit it.
The twist I thought of about halfway through was whoever picked the highest total numbers, I'd add them up, and that was our real winner. But I don't know who did that. So
I like that idea.
I don't know who did that. So
Please don't do that.
Marcus got 8. Charlie got 5. Stacking got 4 with an asterisk.
Here's the trick to the game. Pick guys that are still playing right now in the 2017 teams, because that makes it a lot easier to remember who was the quarterbacks.
Well, thank you. If I had gotten those, I would have picked them.
And that's what Marcus did. So there you go.
I'm going to call conspiracy here. He had these teams ahead of time.
Yes, I did. Actually, Marcus actually gave this question to me to ask. So that's how he knew all of them to begin with.
All right.
How's that hot stove? How's the hot stove?
Oh my God, it's burning up here. Well, actually, it wasn't even really on until a few days ago, but now we've got a blizzard coming in, and it's getting cold, and so the stove's running. We got our boy Ohani, right? Is there a T in there?
Shohei Ohtani.
Ohtani. And it's getting good. I don't know when. Aren't we still like a couple weeks out from him really making a decision?
I think he'll make a decision next week. Next week he'll meet with the folks. I would say he'll probably meet pretty soon. And it sounds like, Giants, Mariners, West Coast team, which is unfortunate for our favorite team. But we're going to get a very good player for very cheap. So do you think, maybe talk to a non-baseball stack and our litmus test for the baseball here. Have you heard of this man? Have you heard of this Asian? And
I have.
He's
a
hitter and a Babe Ruth, a hitter and a pitcher. Do you think if he does well, do you think this will get people will be interested in this? Non-baseball people seeing this Asian hit the ball and throw the ball. Because usually you do.
Not.
Probably not, you say.
I mean, you'll get baseball fans to tune in, but I don't think
Ma Stacken's not watching this?
Who?
Ma Stacken isn't going to watch Ohtani.
No, I don't think it's not going to be like Tiger Woods bringing people into golf that never watched it before. So I don't think that this guy's going to have the same sort of influence. I do find it interesting, though, that there is the possibility kind of floating out there that they would try and put this guy and Yu Darvish together as like a package deal. I've heard that the Twins could be in that mix.
They're out of it.
How serious.
Yankees. I thought he'd go to the Yankees. Yankees are out. Twins are out. It's the Mariners and the Giants. We know for sure they're going to meet next week in Los Angeles or wherever the hell. We know those two teams. There's other teams as well, but we know it's not the Twins and it's not the Yankees. And those teams had about $3.5 million to spend on this guy, which was the most. So that's disappointing.
Okay. That is disappointing. So
West Coast team. And nobody's going to watch them. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense that they have those two teams because that's the percentage of the Asian American population is the highest in those two markets. So that makes a great deal of sense.
Many Asians in Phoenix. I
don't know. I can't comment.
Denver.
I will refrain from saying anything. I was on Twitter, and I saw Baseball's Best Fans, which is one of my favorite Twitter handles. They tweeted something about this guy.
What the hell?
They retweeted some fans. They was talking about Giancarlo Stanton picked the city of, I'm not going to repeat what
San
he
Francisco?
said, but basically, yeah, he picked SF instead of playing for a great city and a great team like St. Louis. So I was like, oh man, Stanton signed with the Giants, but I've since come to learn that that's not the case. Or is it?
It sounds like it's the Giants or the Cardinals. It sounds like the Cardinals have the better package, but Stanton he has no trade. So it sounds like between the two, he would rather go to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's the way it sounded. I thought it had been done and deal, and I was like, okay, that's great.
Probably next week.
Nothing's done.
Yeah.
But it's all about who has the best package, folks.
That would be interesting because I don't like his numbers. I think would decline because obviously the Giants don't have a hitter's park necessarily.
Big park. That would be interesting. I don't think he could hit 40 home runs. There, Bonds, little porch and right. He did well.
That's true. That's very true.
Stanton, a right-handed hitter though. Big left field.
That's very true, and he would get to play in Colorado at least 9 times a year, so that would be good for him.
So you got Stanton and Ohtani. That's what's heating up here. Winter meetings in about 8 days, winter meetings, so we'll be excited about that.
Where are we going for these meetings?
Down in Florida, in Orlando or somewhere where they're going to be.
Sweet.
So there we go. Marcus, the football team won a game again. They've won a lot of them in a row.
6 wins in a row. Their first 10-win season now in school history.
No, the fucking sports. God, the Vikings. God damn it. Sure, okay. SD, that's fine.
You weren't specific enough.
The football team, sure. SDSU, they're playing New Hampshire. Yeah, gotta be.
4,000 people will make it.
The attendance, what was it, 7,000 something?
7,500. 7,500. It seemed like there were more than that there.
Bad.
I realize that you don't want to hear that, but it did. It seemed like there were about...
Well, there were 7,500 people, and it was as perfect weather as you could get. 55 and sunny. Wind wasn't an issue. You can't ask for an opponent that is known to the people. They know who Northern Iowa is.
Yeah, and there probably were 500 Northern Iowa fans there. I mean, they were there. So,
but they won, so they play New Hampshire. They don't got to go to Central Arkansas, so they get a home game. 5,000 people will show up, and be a big disappointment if they don't go to the semis. So
that's right.
Jim Madison, see what you got. See what you got, Jim. And that game will be on. Who?
Jake Winicky. Get over 100 yards for once.
Who's calling it?
Yeah.
Are both semifinals on TV for Friday, Saturday? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Friday night semifinal would be on ESPN2, and the Saturday semifinal would be at like 3:30 on ESPNU.
That's the start of the bowls, aren't they? Is that start of the bowls?
Same day as the bowls getting going, yep.
That'd be a big deal, SDSU football on ESPN, ESPN2.
Right. Yeah,
That's never happened.
I would almost guarantee that if NDSU is to win, they'll play
Friday.
Friday, but if it's James Madison SDSU, I would think James Madison will be playing on Friday, and SDSU will be playing on Friday.
There's going to be a Terriers attack in Fargo on.
Who do they got?
On Saturday.
Well, close down Close it down, second. Close down.
NDSU's got who? Who do they got?
Wofford. They got the Wofford Terriers.
Okay.
That's why I said there's a Terriers attack.
So and it's Kennesaw State and Sam Houston?
Sam Houston, yeah.
So you got Sam Houston and NDSU on the one side?
Yep.
Well, there you go. Very exciting. The other football team won another game. They've won many games in a row. Again, I've told Stacken all year long I'm being very cautious here. Where are you? I mean, they're, what, 10-2 now? 10-2?
Yeah.
I mean, if Philadelphia loses tonight, which is quite possible, I don't know how the tiebreaker figures out, but
I still think Philadelphia would get it right now because they have a better divisional record.
Okay, Stacken. One seed a big deal here, obviously. The road to Minneapolis goes through Minneapolis.
I don't want the 1 seed, and I'm going to tell you why.
You don't want the fucking 1 seed. They've not lost at home in a Coon's age, and you don't want the 1 seed. You want to.
They've lost at home more recently than they have on the road.
You want to play Philadelphia in Philadelphia. I'm not
the most thrilled about.
Okay, yeah. What did you not like about today?
I am not the most thrilled about this win.
You said they were lethargic.
What?
You said they were lethargic.
Well, they were early on, but I'll tell you why I was hoping Atlanta would win more today than I was the Vikings. This is going to sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
Get it out of there. Get the win out of their system. They're winning too much.
No. Because Atlanta needs to win to keep a 2-game cushion over the Packers to maintain that 6th spot in the NFC playoffs. They do have the tiebreaker over Green Bay. And Green Bay has to play Cleveland next week. So if they're only 1 game back of the NFC wild card, Aaron Rodgers is going to play those final 3 weeks at Carolina, home to Minnesota, at Detroit. It's not easy, but he's going to come back. And I don't want to see the Packers in as a 6th seed.
I want them in as a 6th seed.
I don't. So that's why I wanted Atlanta to win slightly more than Minnesota today. I'm happy the Vikings won, don't get me wrong, but I'm so afraid that Green Bay is going to get in the playoffs, and this is just going to be like, 2009 all over again when they went to Dallas after winning 3 straight on the road. I don't want it, but if they were a 6th seed, they'd have to go play Philadelphia in the
What if the Vikings are the 1 seed?
Then great, Minnesota's going to lose in the divisional playoffs to Green Bay. So, no, I don't want this shit happening. So, Atlanta, just do us all a favor and win. Seattle, you could do us all a favor and win. Let's see right now. I think they're down 7-3 to the Eagles. Let me check that here. Unless someone else is watching it. Nope, it's just
watching it.
3-0 Seattle. Excuse me.
Suspect.
So yeah, that's the only reason I say this.
Marcus.
Here would be my argument regarding the Packers. I don't care what Hundley does. I don't trust him to be a good quarterback. So they can play Cleveland next week. They could play goddamn Kansas football next week. I wouldn't trust him to play Kansas. So if the Vikings were to play him in the playoffs, I wouldn't be scared about it. I mean, it would be in Minnesota. If there's one thing to be concerned about as far as the Vikings having home field, it's the fact that you're in a dome stadium and everybody else, it feels like a lot of the other teams in the NFC are good passing teams. So they would have ideal conditions to play against the Vikings.
This defense is.
Philadelphia. Yeah, defense played
the Saints
against a good passing team today.
They played the Saints. They played Atlanta. They played Detroit.
The Saints I'm not worried about. They're more of a running team in some ways now with Kamara. But, yeah, I mean, the way they're going, today was a game I was really worried about. I think they'll beat Carolina.
They're now 14-2?
They're now up 3 with 3 to go here. So they're going to win the division almost assuredly.
You're going to get a 2 seed at least. Get a bye.
Yeah, they should get a bye.
If they don't reach the NFC title game, that's going to be a big fucking disappointment.
It will be. I thought today's game was really boring.
Is that right?
It's kind of difficult to watch. There, especially in the first half. But the Vikings got the win, and that defense is good, man. That defense did the job. So kudos to them. Is the tiebreaker really between the Eagles and the Vikings coming down to division record?
I think it could because
shouldn't it be conference record?
The conference would be the same because the Eagles have, like, let's say the Eagles lose to Seattle tonight.
They lost to the Chiefs.
They lost to Kansas City and Seattle, and Minnesota lost to Minnesota.
Well, Seattle's in the AFC West.
Oh, that's true.
And Eagles are undefeated in the
down to divisional record right now, and that since they aren't playing one another, so there's no head-to-head tiebreaker.
Right. Okay, I see. Yep.
I think if the Vikings win next week, they'll get the 1 seed.
Because who does Philly play?
I don't care.
Philly goes to Los Angeles. They take on the Rams.
Okay.
I think if the Vikings win next week, they go 14-2. That would be what?
Yeah, I can't say that because Aaron Rodgers is going to come back and
I know he's very good.
Things up.
He's very good.
So unless the Vikings can beat them, if the Vikings could beat them Christmas Eve, that would be great.
So and that would knock them. That would knock Green Bay out of the playoffs.
Yes.
So Vikings, they were 2-2, and they've got a chance if they win 15 fucking games in a row, they'll win the Super Bowl.
I think I saw something, a stat that the Vikings...
The moon was supposed to be big tonight. The moon was supposed to be big.
Are you outside?
I got to look at the moon here pretty quick.
The Vikings now are one of only 5 teams, I think, to win 10-plus games in a season in which they're hosting the Super Bowl.
That's a good trivia question. Do you know these teams?
I don't remember the other.
Was that on TV or what?
By the way, it is soon to be 10-0 Seattle over Philadelphia late first quarter here. So.
Good. The other thing is the Vikings on 8-game win streaks. Last time they did it was 98. They reached the NFC Championship game. When they've gone on an 8-game winning streak, the previous 4 times, the worst they finished was losing in the divisional playoffs.
So things are getting serious here. They're getting very serious. So
cornhole championships on ESPN2.
Did Charlie leave us?
Yes, he had to watch. He had to look at the moon. So, Sports Lounge 235 in the books. We'll see maybe back in a week or two. Nathan Sack and all your podcasts and such and blogs and stuff.
Yeah, we could be close to.
Oh yeah, what do we got for names? You want to do this now or later?
Well, yeah. Did we want Charlie in on this or no?
Here, how about this? You give us the names and we'll ponder this for a week or two and see.
Yep.
What you got here? Let's write this shit down.
Well, you got to get this here to Charlie as well.
So we will. We will.
In on the mix. So for let's start. What do you want first, boys or girls' names?
If it's a he, she, what's it going to be?
Boys.
Boys first. Okay, girls.
All right, I got to go. Send me the names. That'd be great.
They'll be in the Mitchell paper tomorrow.
Let's off air then. I don't need no personal.
Okay, alrighty. Big show in a couple weeks. We'll see what the kid's name is. For ND Stack and Blogspot, for Charlie Hildebrand, and for Marcus Traxler, DDS. This has been a 2-hour edition